Good evening, all. Hopefully, you can hear me okay. All my levels are showing okay, so I think we're doing all right. But let me know if I'm having yet another drinkers with technical problems moment. Good evening to Socially Confused, to Drop Yogurt, Shadow Girl, Stakara Gord, Ray Louderbeck. I've already said to you socially, but I almost said you again. Hey, let's say it twice. Socially, Dell, Amidships, hello, buddy. Stunner, Edison, Luna Maria, hello. Citizen Ninja, good to see you all. And the good news is that this time I remembered to put it on the low latency setting, so there's less of a delay between what you say and me getting to react to it. So that's kind of cool. Good evening. Hope you are all well. First off, an apology from me. Apologies that the content has slowed again somewhat this week. I managed to get a short out on the fate of Captain McLaren earlier on in the week. But as for the long form stuff, it's taking slightly longer because, well, I'm exceptionally busy at work. And by the time I get home, it's basically all I can do to not fall asleep. So I don't want to turn out something just for the sake of getting something out every week. So slightly slower pace, but got some exciting projects that are going to take a little bit longer, kind of a little bit more research maybe, but I think will be well worth it by the time that you see it. So yeah, that's where we are at the minute. Good evening, Blamsmith, Apteryx as well. So yeah, a couple of things that I want to react to and kind of take a look at this evening. Maybe we'll get a little bit of Star Citizen in there as well, although I'm not convinced at the moment. We'll see how we get through kind of having a chat and just kind of catching up with each other. And yeah, we'll see where we go from there. But I hope everyone is well. The first thing I want to look at, and we'll jump straight across, I think I might be, if I just have a look very quickly, I think I might be a little bit too big for this, so I might need to drop it down ever so slightly. Let's have a look. I'm definitely prepared for this, don't you know? I'm all over it. And if you believe that, you will believe anything, but bear with me for just a moment. I'm leaning forward because I'm now functionally blind, as I'm sure you can tell, and I'm frantically trying to see where we are, but I'll nip across, and we'll see what needs fixing whilst we're there, shall we? But let's take a look. I don't think I'm quite aligned as far as that screeny bit goes, but let's have a look. Let's find out. Cut. There we go. Yeah, not quite there, am I? But yeah, basically the bit that I wanted to have a look at was kind of the... Let's try again. Ta-da! Fixed it. We're all good. So yeah, basically what I want to have a look at was where we are in the funding at the minute. And that's kind of a little bit important at the moment because it foreshadows yet another round of press. Northern Surge, good to see you, buddy. Yeah, basically, as you can see, 793 million and a half dollars raised so far with 5.5 million citizens. Yeah, this is why I wanted to cover this because we know what's going to happen when we hit 800 million. It's going to be another round of press, and it's going to be another round of you know, oh my god, the game that's been crowdfunded 800 million and still isn't out. So just so we know that that's kind of coming. It is a lot. Socially, absolutely. Solar Storm, hello, good to see you, buddy. Mate, I keep seeing you in Discord chat, and like either this evening I was busy like eating and then setting all this up, or yesterday I'd left my computer on overnight. But we will catch up soon. I think I have an apology to make to you, but yes. $1 trillion game incoming, socially, 100%. As long as everyone doesn't suddenly decide that they're not going to fund this anymore, and it stops attracting new players, then yeah, that's absolutely where we are headed. The reason I say this is because it always attracts that kind of level of, oh my god, it's the game that, you know, 800 million and nothing's there. And I feel like I'm going to preempt it this time around, and I might put out a video that goes along with this, that takes a little bit more of a look at Cloud Imperium Games financials, at a little bit of the financial history of Cloud Imperium and of Star Citizen and Squadron 42, and maybe a few other bits as well that we might be able to look at. But I kind of, I want to preempt what people are saying because I don't think they're being particularly fair when they hammer it on the things. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of stuff that Star Citizen can be hammered for. I'm not entirely sure that this is one of them. And I'll crystallize those in a video, and maybe we'll put that out once the game it hits $800 million. Yeah, and might even stir the pot with a little bit of a controversial title. Do you know, one of the things that I'm discovering about content creation, to my eternal upset, is that if you don't push drama and whatever else, then you can struggle on this platform. If you just try to, you know, unless you've got something exceptionally kind of well presented, like, you know, documentary style, but even then, to get people to click on it, you know, you're either looking at a very niche group of people, or you just need to be a bit drama. And sometimes, you know, that's not where I wanted to come at this. You know, I'm older than most of you, not you, Del, but everyone else. I'm pretty much old. I think I'm one of the older streamers, other than Algrid, obviously. And yeah, I kind of wanted to stay away from that. And you guys will know if you're in chat and you know, if you come into Discord and that sort of stuff. I'm not a fan of all the drama. In fact, it winds me up sometimes. It's just like, cool, if it's upsetting you, move on to something that isn't. Like, life is too short. Sorry, Del. I really called you out there, buddy, didn't I? Yeah, that was a bit rude. Good evening, Sol. Good to see you. But, you know, this was the community that I've always wanted to build with you guys, is something that, you know, we're here because we enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, that's fine. No one, you don't have to enjoy it. You don't have to you know, want to play the game or think it's great or even think it's for you anymore. There's still a place for you in DGP. We play other stuff, you know, all that sort of niff-naff, trivia and George. But it was all about adult conversation and all that sort of stuff, you know, and just being a little bit adult about it. And you know, there are more than enough salt farmers and, you know, drama queens and, you know who you are, amongst the creator community. I didn't want to be one of those. So it bothers me a little bit that it seems like you can look through, if you go onto my content, onto my channel, click live, and then go through and have a look at all of the streams that did really well, without a single exception, the ones that get the most views are the ones with the more, I don't want to say clickbaity, because I don't feel like I go in for clickbait. I always talk about what I'm talking about. I don't tell you I've got something that I don't have, or, you know, that I know something that I don't know, or whatever else. But the titles that are supposed to be a little bit more get people's attention by being, I don't know, a bit controversial or whatever, those are the ones that get loads of views. So, frustrating, but that's how it works. Stunner says, even the old niche group of SC content creators have taken a turn to more of the drama approach to the last year IMO. Do you know what? You're not wrong. John Battle, good evening. Good to see you. Amidship says, I'm here because it's chill. Feeding too much into the attention arms race is really off-putting. 100%. This SC community, without needless drama, says Shadowface, wouldn't be the SC community or gamers in general. Yeah, absolutely. And it just feels like sometimes people need something to go and have a whinge at, and it happens a lot. But yeah, rename the stream "The End of Star Citizen starts with 4.1 for a test," says Socially. Well, I mean, we're doing really well, right? What I like about the fact is this is the 39. There's already 39 people here, so we've already gone past last week's peak, which was the All About You stream, which is bizarre. Someone's just dropped off to make it 38. Nice, good troll, like that. But yes, you see what I mean. So yeah, you need bait to catch fish. Nothing wrong with clickbait. Yeah, I mean, and this is the thing, right? This is where I start to, maybe I'm like becoming a bit of a dad streamer, but my impression of clickbait is it's something to get people in, and you don't actually have that answer, or, you know, you're not actually talking about that thing. And funny enough, we might be talking about just something like that a little later on the stream, depending on how we go. But there's something that I absolutely want to react to, but not for the reasons that people are going to think, which is why I haven't made it part of the stream. I haven't made it part of the thumbnail or the title. Unlike some people who are shamelessly exploiting this, there is something within the SE community that I do want to talk about, because I think it's important. But we'll get there in just a second. Apparently YouTube encourages baiting, says Luna Maria. You are not wrong. Dark Matter hasn't played since November. Don't blame me. It's been a bit of a mess. Stukaragord, dad streamer. Oh my god, that explains the boats. Banned Stukaragord. Thanks for that. But yes. Clickbait titles, red arrows, and sexy thumbnails for the win. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Is the minute we get kind of topless models in Star Citizen, I will plaster them all over. No, I won't. No, not even then. Not even then. Clickbait can be good or bad. Good is when the bait is close to the content. Exactly that. Bad is when the bait has little to no relevance to the content. And funnily enough, the short that I did on Gillian Anderson's character in Squadron 42, I feel like skirts that line. Is this a spoiler in Squadron 42? And all it does is it references a couple of things. After what we saw in the gameplay, what was going on with her in some interviews she did about it, and a couple of things that she said that hinted that maybe or maybe not what we think has happened hasn't happened. But we can cover that later if anyone wants to talk about it, and especially if you're here for that, that's what we'll talk about. Fox Felix says, hey, happy to see your video streams, hope you're well. Fox, I am very well, thank you, and thank you for popping in, good to see you. Very welcome, of course. Hope you have had a good weekend. Dark Matter, add crafting and base building, then make rare craft loot a factor, and boom, gameplay solved. Theme park content is what killed Star Wars Galaxies. Do you know what? It's a real shame, because I remember, so back in the day I was a little bit late to the Galaxies party, and by late I mean I joined round about the time that the Jedi update where you could become Jedi or Sith happened, and I know for a lot of people they said that's when it started to go downhill. But from what I saw, I really enjoyed it, and I understand that there are some copies of it, basically. There's like some kind of private shards of it. And I would be very interested. I don't know if anyone else here would be interested in it, but I would be very interested as a DGP thing to go and take a look at Star Wars Galaxies. So if anyone's interested, hit us up. You know where the link for the Discord is. It's in the fold. Yeah. Yes, I think Socially says, lucky to get into the Star Wars Galaxies beta. Complicated system, but cool. Yeah, I think one of the most interesting things I found out about Galaxies was the idea that... Something just flew into my face. Was the idea that they were making guns through the crafting system that were actually breaking the game. They were that good. So the crafting system had the capacity to break the game. And whilst that in itself might not be a great thing, I do think that there's something to that, is the fact that you can have a game where crafting is that important or that instrumental. Let me know if the music gets too loud, by the way. So yeah, the problem is the game is so old, OBS cannot capture the window of Star Wars Galaxies. Oh no. Well, so it might not be a stream thing then, but I would certainly be interested in, even just as a playing experience, having a go at that. Okay, so that's the funding thing. Let's go and have a look at what is next. Chavez, good to see you, buddy. Hopefully you don't mind me calling you by your last name. It's definitely one of those names that's in all the war movies, you know, Chavez is hit, Chavez is hit. So that's where I go with that. I'm weird. Stove says, oh god, yeah, I remember the SWG medic could use a gun that would one-shot your mind pool, instantly kill you. Yeah, I mean, so... and Shadow Girl will roll her eyes at this, because we try and play games together and then she is like, where's Badger's gone? And I'm off crafting something. But one of the things that I quite enjoyed about Star Wars Galaxies was the ability to put down all the little extractors and stuff in different places and kind of like have that working whilst you're offline. That was really cool to me. I really kind of enjoyed that. And it looks like this might be going the same way. So, Roadmap Roundup came out this week. Was thinking about making a video on it and then realised there wasn't actually enough in here to give you guys decent content. So, thought, hey, we'll just cover it on the Sunday stream. So that's what we'll do. For those that don't know, there is a new mission giver out. He is not human. I won't spoiler it any more than that, but he's one of the game's alien races. Wikello is his name. Wikello. So that was the redacted mission giver. It's now Wikello. Okay, and that's been committed. And Wikello's Emporium. So that's his location as well. Very much in the same as you've got, you know, kind of the reclamation and salvage for Clovis Darnley and all that sort of stuff. So he's getting his own location. The Alina Mine is with the two locations. alignment station, mining station, the Hathor stations, and the Parallax, the assault rifle, has also been switched to committed, which is the beam weapon. Actually saw that getting used. Sol, you were running around with that while we were doing stuff on Friday, weren't you? But yeah. I try to avoid the vids and streams that have drama or excessive negativity or clickbaity titles, said John Battle. Yeah, 100%. And I think, to be honest, if my clickbaity stuff will often aim itself at, like, the trolls, is like, you know, things like, here's why Star Citizen's years in development don't matter, and I've got a couple others that I'm playing with, but, you know, the problem is, again, I'm really proud of the community we've built here. Lots of people wanting to have a chat. You've only got to watch any of the chats from any of the live streams that we've had. Everyone's positive. Everyone's getting on. Great discussions happening. You know, I'm quick to jump on stuff when it's not going well and people are getting a bit antsy at each other. The problem with aiming things at the trolls, even if you want to take a shot at them, is that you can get very quickly flooded with people who don't agree with you, who just want to come in and fling poop everywhere. And there are, after all, only 3,110 of us as of today. And obviously not all in the stream, because it's 42. So I want to be a little bit careful about, you know, not picking a fight with the wrong crowd before we're able to deal with it. So yeah. John Wickello, leader of the high table, says Marlax 101. Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, Feathers. Good to see you. Jedi Drifter, glad you did make it, mate. Good to see you. Pedro Jose, CIG, we're going to fix the game and have less content, proceed to add more content, and infix even more of the game. Do you know what? Funny enough, we're going to come and talk about that in just a second. I've used extensions to remove clickbait. It's nice not seeing all the silly AI thumbnails. Interesting. You'll have to show me how you did that, socially, because that sounds like a good move. 2 items updated in the 1.0 release card, and 1 added. The added one is the realistic audio mode, which says, I'll zoom in a little bit, because you probably can't see that very well, right? A systemic solution for expressing game audio in depressurized states through effects applied to audio, and an increased emphasis on the resonance of sounds through surfaces and physical contact, which sounds cool. And then these 2 have been updated. So they've updated control surfaces to read updated IFCS and control surfaces, which is good. Means, look, even if not the flight model, then aspects within the flight model are going to get changed. And quantum travel has been renamed from quantum boost. So they're looking at doing the whole thing. And I don't know about you guys, I'm still really looking forward to the style of quantum travel that was shown off during the Star Engine trailer 2 years ago now. That looked incredible. So if we could have that, that would be wonderful. John Buster says, oh yeah, your clickbaity titles won't put me off, so I've seen a few of your streams and vids, so I know it's your humour. Good, glad to hear that. And Chavez says, yeah, always gets pronounced wrong because of how common Chavez is. Mine's a little different origin, Cha, and then Viz. Okay, Chavez. Gotcha. I shall stop pronouncing that wrong, buddy. I do apologise, but yeah, cool. Chavez, I can do that. I can manage. Ooh, interesting. The music has just stopped. Oh no, it's just changed over by itself, which is wonderful. Cool. Okie dokie. So, whose comment was it? Pedro Jose. Interesting that you should bring this up. This has been an interesting time for me as a content creator, because what I want to talk about with you guys is relevant, and the videos that I want to make, I want them to be, you know, kind of appropriate to what's going on. And you know me, I'm not a knee-jerk content creator, so I won't just react to something because it's happened. It's because, you know, if I get to it early enough and I feel like I've got something valuable to say, then I will say it. And that seems to have worked well so far. It's, you know, you guys at least haven't stormed out, so that's a good thing. What's been really interesting about Star Citizen's change toward stability and content within the current confines of what they have, rather than content, you know, adding new features and persistently breaking the game, has been how do I phrase this? It makes it hard because what I wanted to do was I wanted to create shorts. I'd started to put together a series of shorts about all of the videos, right, up from CitizenCon, the last one, and you'll even see a couple of them. They're called 60-second sit reps, and it was basically taking an element of those games and then saying, you know, hey, look, this is what's going on with the new armor types. This is what's going on with the Valakar. This is what's going on with new biomes. This is what's going on with crafting and base building and all that sort of good stuff. That was the plan. Which is a little bit harder to do because you can kind of expect that everyone watching those things will be sat there going, yeah, but they've told, like, this isn't going to come for years. Because it was certainly not going to come this year because this year they're focusing on stability. And I think it's fair to say, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I think it's fair to say that this focus on stability will continue into and past the Squadron 42 release, if that does indeed release next year. Because I think, reading between the lines, what I'm seeing is, and we've talked about this before, people who go and play Squadron 42 as their first exposure to Cloud Imperium Games titles will play it and be like, hopefully, that was incredibly well polished, that's amazing, and then they would come over to Star Citizen as it is now and go, what is this shit? What on earth is this absolute mess? And they'd be right? I don't think anyone would disagree with that. So I feel like this is a constant a conscious recognition of this fact by CIG to get Star Citizen to the point where they'll have a much lower attrition rate for people seeing Squadron 42, playing it and enjoying it, coming across and going, "Ugh," and leaving again, right? And that's the actual reaction. "Ugh." Sorry, I've just realised that I went and bought a bottle today, specially for the stream, of Fizzy Pop, just cheap Fizzy Pop. And I was going to put a piece of paper on it with copium written on it, and I completely forgot, so it is lemonade. But it's copium in a lemonade bottle. Because unfortunately, I had a mocha and it was lovely, but it was in my... I think I'm going to make this a feature of the streams when I say something that's going to upset people. Is the calm the F down mug. I think I'm going to make that a permanent feature. Liquid copium, absolutely. Premium copium, says Deviluna. Deviluna, welcome in. Good to see you. So, yeah. So, on that note, what I found really interesting, going back to what Pedro says, you would expect, hopefully, that all of this would switch across now. The video that they did, the 3-hour live stream, were changing to stability and content over new features, was released at the beginning of February, right? And now, obviously, this came out this week, the PU monthly report for February itself. What I found really interesting, I'm just going to do this with you now, okay, was I just typed new into the search engine, and I don't know if you can see that there at the top, but I'll read it out anyway. There are 28 mentions of new in that report. Now, don't get me wrong, some of this is obvious, right? New lines, yeah, new callbacks for the mission functionality. These are things that it's perfectly acceptable to be new. That fits quite comfortably within the stability and bug fixes and quality of life improvements, yeah? To do new content, to do missions, they need new lines. Absolutely. If that's what they're going to do, if they're going to go over to more kind of audio-driven missions rather than just open your mobiGlas and click accept. I get that. That makes sense. But a new character prototype. New initiatives. Improvements in the dogfighting experience. New functionality. Improvement for the Copion. Okay, fine. New stealth armors. New creature. New armors. Ships, okay, I think we can all accept the ships are going to have to happen. What I found really interesting was this core gameplay section. And this is where I'm worried that what CIG say and what CIG do, once again, are going to be not the same thing. And I don't know how many more times, and this isn't a doom and gloom thing, right? I know I'm going to be here, it's fine. But I don't know how many times the majority of the community can deal with say one thing, do another. Because, you know, it might not even be the majority of the community. But it does kind of bother me. So we got minor misfires, major misfires work being added. Okay, great. Do we need that right now? In a period where stability is a problem, do you really want to stop people's guns working? Maybe, you know, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that they're being implemented. I'm saying that it's probably a poor thing that they're working on it right damn now. And if you are working on it, why would you write it and say it to people? Okay. John Bonner says the amount of streamers thought that it was so vitriolic about the project. I honestly don't know, don't get why they continue to cover it. Go touch grass, have a break, check it in a couple of patches time. Absolutely. Stuff they have ready to go. Yeah, so some of it is absolutely stuff ready to go. Some of this isn't. So yeah, so I mean the transit system like this is a good example of where new fits with the direction that they're taking. A strike team was formed. This is this bit here that I'm reading. A strike team was formed to deal with underlying issues affecting the transit system, while another continued with the ongoing refactor towards the new transport system. What's the transport system if it's not the transit system, and why are we adding it now? Okay. A couple of other things in here that caught my eye, and I'm going to upset myself now because I'm not going to be able to find them, despite the fact that I was reading this 10 minutes before I came on stream. So let's have a look, see if I can find some of the stuff. Here we go. February saw progress on the radar and scanning feature. Absolutely, 100% in, needs improving, don't have a problem with that. Progress on a handheld radar jammer. Do we need that right now? How about you get the scanning system working and good and all that sort of stuff before you let us break it again? And I feel like this is a little bit of the, you know, we've said we're going to work on stability. We're getting, you know, I'll go back to it in just a second, but we're getting the ground alignment stations, we're getting the mining station. Like, I would much rather, I don't know about you guys, I would much rather the location teams figure out why we're falling through the planet at outposts in Pyro than giving us new locations. You know, core gameplay also began work to allow vehicle components to be detectable. And, okay, yeah, but we're not really going down the that route. So, you know, new concept art, so new stuff again. Okay, new mission giver, new mechanic to allow people to, you know, get the missions and the content in a new way. Again, so it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. The bit that does concern me, I'm just going to come onto it now, is there's a bit in here. So I'm just going to kill some of the volume off on this one. Let's kill the music just a second. Okay. So, just going to watch through and react to some of this, because I think some of this is quite important. And you can't hear that, can you? Okay, bear with me. This is not a problem. I can fix this. So browser. There will be a slight pause whilst I figure out what on earth is going on. Audio output. Chrome. Okay. Properties. Browser. Okay. So, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this just yet, but type that. Let's see. Let me know if you can hear this.
I apologize to any children and small animals that it may frighten. It's my parents.
Hopefully you can hear it.
So I've got a little bit of a speech here before we begin. Let's see if I can get through it without messing up.
How about now?
Probably not. It's a new year.
Cool.
And those that have followed the project for a while can tell you that the first couple months of any year at CIG is a period of examination, of planning, and of taking those triumphs and lessons alike from the previous year and using them to chart an improved and refined way forward for the continuing development of Star Citizen and Squadron 42. So far, so good. And this year, we've set the focus of those efforts early with December's letter from the chairman, where CEO and founder of the company, Chris Roberts, stated his intention to evolve both the existing patch release cadence and the content within for Star Citizen away from the previous new feature-laden model and into a more content-driven and stability-focused endeavor.
Good.
So, sitting here right now, what the hell does that really mean? Does it mean that we wave a magic wand and it all gets better in a single monthly patch like last week's 401? No, of course not. Does it mean holding patches back for 3, 4, 5 months at a time and with no new content until there's a perfect release? Not quite, because we still need to make new stuff to feed the beast, and as many of you already know, while PTU and Tech Preview have their valuable and essential uses, they will still never reach the concurrency numbers of Live Alpha. And it is all too often the stresses of that high concurrency Live Alpha that ultimately reveal the true underlying sources of problems beneath for a project like this. So, if patches are going to keep coming no matter what, then what's actually changing this year? So like everything else in Star Citizen, I'm certain this too will continue to expand and mature as we move throughout the year. But in its simplest terms, what this means is pulling engineers and programmers off of a lot of the new fancy feature work they've always been on and putting them on less sexy but more quality of life driven efforts like rebuilding elevators and transit to better work with the realities of server meshing, fixing issues where your hangar eats your ship and your cargo disappears, finally introducing some version of unique item recovery as quickly and as efficiently as we can, and much,
we'll talk about
more.
that later.
It means a greater focus on refining the gameplay that's already there in the persistent universe, and less time spent on continuously introducing the instability of a multitude of brand new features every 3 months or so. It also means a new content and gameplay delivery schedule intricately tied to the introduction of new ongoing story narratives for the persistent universe that allow you as players to reshape the galaxy around you, beginning with 401, and the faction warfare that will change Pyro by the end of this year. So what? No more new features? No. It just means that we're going to continue to work on new gameplay like resource network, crafting, and base building in the background, and do it slower, more deliberately, and with more time to cook. It means these new features not coming out as quickly as originally planned, because the same super talented engineers and programmers that used to be working on those will now be focused on fixing what's essentially already there first. And when these new features are ready to do so, they'll go into expanded, dedicated tech preview testing instead of the PU to ensure their functionality and stability. Ultimately, this year is a recommitment to our desire to make Star Citizen a place where everyone can live out their sci-fi dreams, whether they're industrial, commercial, civil, impartial, or controversial, simply about traversal or other people's dispersal, but always universal and hopefully with little to no reversal. And to do so with an ambitious monthly patch cadence, focused on content, not features, that we hope brings with it new places to go, new things to do, and new fixes to the issues that have often hampered the experience in the past. I got cute there for a minute, so I'm just going to explain it again just to be clear. Monthly patches with little to no brand new features causing brand new instabilities, instead full of progressive bug fixes and refactors that will build over time, and with new story-driven content primarily utilizing game systems already in place that will continue developing the stories of Stanton and Pyro and beyond, of factions and sandworms and science run amok and...
Okay, great. So the bit here is kind of the notion that we're going to get monthly releases. And okay, we've had, what have we had this year? We've had 4, which came in at the end of last year, although they're going to argue that going from 4.0 preview to removing 323 or 324, whatever it was we were on, God, I can't even remember, and then bringing in 4.0 will be patch 1 of January, 4.01 will be February, and then 4.1 will be March. What was really interesting was they said next to no new features and stuff, and I think a lot of this is the language that they use. So new features, they mean not introducing new gameplay systems or new areas like that. They're talking about, we're not going to bring in resource network or engineering until it's absolutely 100% ready. Can you see why I'm sitting here a bit dubious? Is that, this 4.1 patch looks to be loaded with stuff that no one was expecting. No one was really, kind of, I'd say wanting, don't get me wrong, what they're adding is great, and I'm never going to poo-poo new features completely. But again, my question is one of timing. We all want the Valakar, and we all want to do that stuff. But is this the right time to be doing it? With so much broken. And I think one of the things that was really interesting with the supply or die is they changed the way that we got the materials that we needed. They made the terminals, and if you were trying to pick it up through the stations, you could get it. It become much more scarce, right? So that became problematic for people, I think. And a whole bunch of other reasons, which I'll get into in just a second. Some of that I've experienced personally, but before that, Richard Scarlett, thank you very much, mate, for the super chat. Really appreciate that. That's absolutely not needed, but always appreciated. Thank you very much. Any idea when they'll get to fixing bugs mercenary bunker missions? I had 5 in a row last night that were bugged, incompletable, and lost rep. Not raging, just asking. No, absolutely. And again, thank you very much, mate. I do try to answer all the questions, so don't feel like you need to do that to get your questions answered. But again, thank you very much, my friend. So what I would have said prior to playing today is that I would have been a little bit surprised and said the bunker missions, for me, seem to be working okay. And then today they're not. So I completely get it. I don't know is the answer. I think what I'm finding now, if you're happy to chat a little bit about the bugs that you encountered, but the one that I encountered today was it didn't recognize that I was at that location to spawn the AI. So it knew that I could be there. The turrets didn't attack me. I wasn't told that I was trespassing. This was one of the provide backups. It's one of the very easy 45k. You get there. There's a couple guys outside, couple guys inside, some friendlies too. Wipe them out, leave. That's all this mission was. But I kind of appeared at the bunker, and then nothing happened. It still said I was literally on foot at the top of the elevator, and it still said go to security outpost 1. I think this one was. So, long story short, mate, is I'm not sure. There have been tons of issues historically with not all the AI spawning, or the AI spawning inside of things that we can't get to them. Not being able to find them. The AI even now with the external nav mesh, they kind of seem to wander off. If someone's landed a little way away, they will go and walk all the way there, which is cool because AI reacting to what's going on in the world, but it does make it a pain in the backside, and it means you've got to go inside, kill the guys inside, and hope that you've killed enough for the markers to pop up on the remaining guys outside, and then you can go and figure out where the hell they've gone. Otherwise, it's a case of get back in your ship and kind of go and find them. Mine were the usual issue. I fought the baddies outside, inside, went inside, all the NPCs still in their elevators. I think what I'm seeing there, Bud, is, and I think this is fair to say, is that there is an issue across all of the Star Citizen servers where they are not, they have, what's the word I'm looking for? They deteriorate over time. So all of the entities that are being spawned, the ships that get blown up and broken up and are then just there floating or on the deck waiting to be salvaged, all of that is increasing the workload on the servers. So the longer the servers have been running, the more of an issue there is. And I think CIG have kind of implicitly and explicitly kind of recognize this, and they're working towards it. Like, one of the things I saw, a lot of the stuff in Pyro at the moment, the entities that get left about somehow end up in the center of the system. So yeah, there's a bit of an issue there. I've just noticed my camera's frozen. Is it frozen for you guys, or is it okay? Two of the missions, my ship was the only one there. Yeah, so I think it's not necessarily. I'm going to try and fix it. It's not necessarily an issue where the where it's around your area. It's the servers in general. Okay, so the server seems to be broken up into a shard. Seems to be broken up into like 9 servers. And in that instance, they seem to be. It doesn't necessarily have to be at your location. It could be anywhere within that is deteriorating, or it simply could be how it's communicating with other servers is causing it to get less effective. So yeah, it's a bit of a pain in the ass, mate, and I appreciate it, but unfortunately, it just seems to keep going like that. Yeah. Wow, couple of new people. So hello, Jadome, welcome in, bud. Demon Omnibus in Tenebris. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Welcome in. Napo Complex. Good to see you, buddy. Nothing is more emotional than badgers working with magnets. For those of you that don't know, I'm an absolute Warhammer nut. I'm building some models at the minute and using magnets to do it. And yeah, I don't want to play anymore. But yes. So yeah, bit of a traumatic time. That's what Napo's referring to. But yeah, so I've been where there was up to 6 ships in various stages of disrepair. Yeah, absolutely. It tends to be across the whole server. It doesn't necessarily need to be localized to where you are. If the server's dealing with a lot of entities, wherever that is, it seems to have an issue. Now, one of the nice things, and I think people will probably agree with me on this, since they brought in this multi-server, the server meshing, server FPS rates have gone through the roof compared to what we had before. They're still not great in terms of all types of games, but they are a massive improvement on what we had. AI now feel a lot more responsive, so they're getting there. And what's important to remember is, A, this is the first time that this has been done of this style in gaming for a game of this type. Secondly, it's only 4 months old in live, right? It was released at Christmas. So this was one of the things before that I was saying time and time again, people need to be aware that this is going to be broken. It's not going to behave very well. And they need time. Once it's implemented, we'll get on it, and you know what gamers are like. If there's a way to break it, we'll find it, and we'll make it 10 times worse. It will get better, but unfortunately, you are just going to experience things like that for the time being. And this is hopefully what this year of focusing on stability and quality of life improvements will really help us achieve. Desync has been the main issue for socially. Don't disagree at all. We had a bit of a torrid time last night in one of the asteroid bases getting the red key cards, where desync basically killed the entire team. In effect, we couldn't put the fuses into the door. Only I could. Most of us either couldn't get weapons out or couldn't access our inventory, or every time we pressed fire it switched to a med gun, or you couldn't see your guns, people's backpacks weren't spawning. It was an absolute torrid time, and as a result, on the way out we got ambushed, and because half of us couldn't really fight or fight effectively, we got wiped out. There's a common theme here, but definitely not a skill issue, right? But yeah, it's going to be a bit of a pain in the backside, I think. John Maddle says, I think what we're doing with weapon misfires is bringing in mechanics that are going to be in Squadron 42, so there's that commonality, but also allows live testing of the mechanics. And I don't disagree with that at all, John. I think my issue with it is that it's a bit tone deaf to what's going on at the minute. And I'll give you some examples for people. So, doing the supply or die stuff, I've decided that what I'm going to do to combat the whole terminal issue, I mean, I was always going to do this anyway, but the terminal issue just found it. The trading kiosks are obviously now overwhelmed. They're not putting out much of the materials that we need. There's huge queues for it. People are griefing each other. They're standing at the terminal and then just going AFK. There's a lot of issues with that. There are absolutely other ways of doing that as long as you have access to a ship that will allow you to. So mining and salvage. So I've got my Vulture. I've been going to these bunker missions that you talked about in the Vulture. I go and kill all the people, and then I salvage all the ships. And I picked up about 120 SCU of RMC. Took that to Obituary, no problem. Came back, then got construction materials, because I basically just like, I'll just fill up with RMC for the whole time, and then now I'm just filling up with construction materials. Put it all into my Taurus, loaded it all up. The loading, I had about 112 SCU. Loading took about 40 minutes, because I wanted to make sure it was packed properly, which takes a while. One of the problems with the Taurus is if you're stood on the ground and you're trying to get it to, unless you stack the first wall completely, if you start stacking too high and then realise you need to go to 3 high, it's an absolute pain in the backside. But anyway, refueled the Connie Taurus, took off, got aimed towards Pyro, went to Quantum, ran out of Quantum fuel, despite having refueled. Moments before this happened, 1.2 GM, Gigamooses, Gigamummies, whatever it's called, Gigameters, outside of Crusader, right? Global chat wasn't working, so I couldn't ask for someone to come and refuel me. It was in the morning, so there wasn't anyone on with a staff error to refuel me within Discord. I looked at the other Discords that I'm in, and people weren't around there. So, yeah. So what I did was I basically aimed towards Crusader, went to max SCM, max nav speed, about 1,000 meters a second, and just left it. And 25 meters later, I was still 1.2 gigamooses out. And then I went AFK, so I got ditched out of the thing. It said me it didn't know where it was, gave me the option to claim. I kind of gave up. That evening I came back. Oh, this is just painful. Suddenly realised I could call it up again. Called it up in the hangar, but the landing gear wasn't down. So I just watched it scoot across the hangar floor with me being unable to get into it. And disappear. With all 112 SCU of construction materials on. So I was just like, whatever, I don't want to play this anymore. And literally today, so that was last weekend. Today is the first time I've been able to consider giving it a go, and I've been playing a few hours before the stream. So yeah, should have used a Drake, says Socially. Absolutely not. No. The Vulture is enough Drake for me. Thank you. So yeah, there's that. Desync absolutely the main issue. Playing on minimum settings, AMD 8320 FX, 32 gigs DDR3, and an AMD 5500 XT. CPU is maxed at 98%, 89%, GPU is 75%. Yeah, and that's it, right? So it's getting better. I mean, it's a lot better. I mean, when I first playing this, I was on a 970. And basically it was Star Citizen, the PowerPoint version, because it was just slides of 3 frames a second. It was awful. And people used to say to me, you know, my first videos, they were like, oh, you're just another bored gamer clone, and all you're doing is using B-roll to talk about your videos. And I was like, well yeah, because nobody wants to see 4 frames a second Star Citizen. So yes, so luckily enough now on a 3080 and things are a lot more comfortable. Maybe we'll have a look at that in a second. Maybe we'll jump into the game for a bit. If you need construction mats, you can use my reclaimer. It would be faster socially. Yeah, funny enough, I've got a reclaimer as well. But I think I'm just I'm enjoying the solo. I'm just going to run around and do that sort of stuff as I'm doing other things. And I think that's what I really enjoy. Like, if I just mine, I get bored. If I just salvage, I get bored. If I just do bunkers, I get bored. But switching between them and inventory management and then putting a little SCU crate in so I can put all my bunker loot into it, like that juggling and jumping between tasks seems to keep things fresh for me. So that's why I do that. But yeah, there are lots of problems in there at the minute that sometimes it feels a little bit disrespectful to our time. In terms of that was like, well, hang on a second. I did everything I should have done. I stored it. I brought it at the Taurus. I brought it out. I refueled it. I put it back into, I put everything in it. Everything was fine. I checked the window. There was, I didn't need to refuel, and then to get, 1 gigamoose outside of Crusader and to run out of fuel was just exceptionally frustrating. Because that's no one can say, oh well, you could have done this and you could have done that. I mean, I suppose the only thing I could have done, which is ridiculous, is claim the Connie and then get a brand new one out. But if you've got to do that every time you do a cargo run, I mean, that's ridiculous, right? Rock mining is working well, so Shadow Girl tried that a week ago. I'm glad that's working at least, and the salvage seems to be working as well. I don't have that. I think I've had 1 or 2 holes out of all the ones that I've salvaged where I wasn't able to do anything with it, either fracture it, and they were absolutely ones that one was like an arrow. I couldn't, and anything can munch an arrow, right? But yeah, so we'll see. New running head to the rocks. Yeah, so that's that. So yes, very frustrating and a bit nauseating, frankly, and it feels disrespectful to your time. I think it's not, because they're not putting these bugs in intentionally. They would obviously not like that to happen, because then if you want to take the worst possible view of CIG, if refueling actually works, they sell more Starfarers. If you've got a game and it's got its gameplay loop in and it still doesn't work, no one's going to buy that ship, right? So, and I know Starfarers aren't great anyway, but got my friend to start playing with me, says Richard Scarlett. Some DB ran their ship through the observation window between the hangar. Yeah, he fell through the floor and quit. That wasn't a Connie, was it? Because yeah, I went to one of the places and there was a Connie Aquila sticking through the window. It was like, interesting. Not entirely sure why I did that. The interior kills the Starfarer, 100%. Yes. Cuts of footage of Jared intentionally sneaking bugs into the game. You're not wrong, 100%. So I'm just gonna, let's just very quickly go back to the full face stuff. I'll try and put my boobs away. I keep trying to get them out on stream. Shh, Jared. Sorry, I put that up on the end. Okay. An interesting one then. Was a red ship, whatever that was. Yeah, absolutely. Booba equals more clips. I mean, I could just a little bit, maybe. No, let's not. Let's not and say I didn't. Hey, my first X-rated stream. Yeah, yeah. Only I'll be on Only Friends. If I swear to God, if you guys don't donate $10, then I'm taking this off. You pay me to keep my clothes on. I lost roughly 50 SCU of salvage materials, says Shinobi, due to the incorrect QT fuel bug, and lost another 50 or so of construction materials because the cargo elevator won't recognize the RMC. So failed mission and lost CM. Mate, that's just rubbish. And incredibly frustrating, and especially depending on the ship you use, that can take a long time. Like I've done today, it took 3 missions to get 1 full load out of what I was doing, and then all of a sudden I went to one place and there were 2 Connies there, and it was like great. But yeah, no, I feel that. That assumes the Starfarer was ever alive as anything other than Bob Marley's fan fever dream. Chavez, you're not wrong, buddy. Starfarer, I think they basically said they designed it as an FPS mission interior without ever thinking about what it was like to actually fly the thing and move around it as a crew. So I think at some point we are going to get a massive Starfarer rebuild, basically. Star Stuff, good to see you. T-Jack, good to see you. Question, what are your top 3 favourite ships outside of the Perseus? Sir, that is a very good question. Okay, so these are in no particular order, just because I want to commit to anything. but, I said but. Number one would be the Reclaimer. The first one into my head would be the Reclaimer. There's just something, everything about that ship, from the almost carbon copy of the alien galley area through to the way that it settles on its landing gear when it lands, and you get that kind of very obvious pneumatic kind of suspense, is absolutely tasty. I love that ship. The only thing that I don't like about it is the fact that the claw has become the oh look, another star, beam citizen thing. If that claw could continue to physically munch, then I would just, that would be that. But yes, I have, looking at you, Edison and Can, I have a Reclaimer now, and yeah, I'm looking forward to. I think for my industrial gameplay, the Reclaimer is going to be it. The crew on that, the drones, it just, there's a reason that places like Ghost Hollow are a crashed Reclaimer, and it's just because they are just gorgeous looking ships. So yeah, incredibly industrial and everything else. I love them. Mine is the Battlestar Galactica, but I'll never see it. I mean, never say never, right? Funny enough, we were talking about, could you imagine Star Citizen complete conversion mod to Star Wars? So you're all running around on Corellian Corvettes and Death Stars and Millennium Falcons and you could absolutely do the same. And I hope they do, right? I hope that Star Engine gets sold once they've got Star Citizen out the door, and Disney, Lucasfilm, seize on it and create it. Maybe not Disney, someone that's a little less stupid. And that, the people behind Battlestar Galactica create that. Could you imagine that? Like people with battle stars and all that. Yeah, Joygasm, says Firebrand, and you're not wrong, sir. That would be. I'd tell you, the other one I'd love to see, although this would be a very different scenario, is I'd love to see a Warhammer 40,000 Star Citizen, because can you imagine ground-based combat with Titans? But yeah, Star Trek ships more, says Shadow Girl. Personally, absolutely. Yeah, so there's some quite impressive crossovers potentially. 80s sci-fi vibe for sure for the Reclaimer. Yeah, top 5 for Chavez, Perseus Galaxy C1 M2 Legionnaire. Interesting. Well, so my second on this list is going to be something that I'm sure is going to a lot of people are going to go, my second one is the Terrapin Medic. And not just because that got gifted to me. There's something about the Terrapin. I love it. There's an Anvil theme, right? It's rugged, it's crunchy, yeah. I've liked the Terrapin anyway, but the Terrapin Medic just takes the cake for me. Maybe just because it's a little bit newer. What would my third be? I noticed that I've kind of gone away a little bit from the combat side here. The Zeus is a nice ship. You're right. I don't know if it's in there, but the Zeus is a nice ship. So I read Defiant, and that's what my brain went to say. So you got a De Zeus instead. Firefly would be ace. Yeah, 100%. Firefly would be incredible. Babylon 5 mods and star stuff. Do you know what? The best we can do is say to these companies, have you seen the Star Engine and what it could do with what you could do with your game? Absolutely. Just say Liberator, you want to, so socially, get out. Polaris. What would number 3 be? None of those, I'm afraid. Do you know what? I'm going to go for this, and it's not going to surprise anyone, least of all Shadow Gal, when I say this out loud. My third favourite ship here is the Prowler. There's just something about the shrimp that I absolutely love. Yeah. So, yeah, and and I've just, funny enough, I've just watched Halo, again on on Prime. And yeah, something like that would be kind of cool. I'm still a bit weird about some ships already bought and sold, maybe not being in 1.0. I wish they'd have more depth communication with this on their plans for ships still not in game. So yeah, and I think one of the interesting things here, of course, is the whole, like the Endeavour, one of the oldest ships going, and a couple of other ships that aren't, it seems, are not going to make it, is a bit frustrating, for sure. Because there's no reason that they can't do with the Endeavour what they've done with the, what are the words that I'm looking for? With the Avenger, the Titan series, right? Or the Avenger series, that they can't do with the Freelancer and everything else. The Galaxy can just be 3 different ships. The modular stuff can come later, right? The switching them out. And I suppose the Odyssey's a little bit, not the Odyssey, what am I saying? The Endeavour's a little bit different because there are so many different configurations that you can have. But yeah, it does feel that that's a bit of a pain. Top F3 FPS weapons as a midship, in no particular order: FS9, Kana, P6LR. Love all of them. FS9 is just great for PvP. Kana's accuracy is fantastic and it's got good stopping power. And the P6LR, anyone that doesn't enjoy sniping with a 50 cal sniper rifle, needs to take themselves around the back and have a word with themselves, okay, and then come back and report back to the class. So yeah. I would gladly rather wait for all the new stuff for a stable game. So Scarlet, Richard Scarlet. Imagine in 10 years when we finally get the Endeavour and BMM, it will be a glorious day. Exactly that. I think there's a lot of people. The Boundary Merchantman looks incredible, but of course we don't have it yet. I think it's disappointing to see that 1.0 is what they would consider released, and yet is not going to have everything that people have already pledged for. I think that's a little bit disrespectful to the people that own those ships, or want to own those ships, but certainly the ones that already bought it and have owned it for some time. I don't think that's a great look for them. They can certainly do better. P4 AR, says Chavez, P6 LR and P8 AR. There's a theme there. As an Endeavour owner, I'm fine letting that gamble ride. It will be ready when it's ready, and my investment will pay off, hopefully. Yeah, absolutely. Beat Lead says, I just want CIG to pick a lane and stay in it. They can't keep their priorities straight for more than 6 months. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. I mean, we kind of talked a little bit earlier on about the whole stability in content versus new features, and I hope they stick to that. I think the big key here is the patch a month, right? If what they are focusing on, it doesn't need to be delayed, because its bug fixes go into it, quality of life improvements go into it, updates to things like that absolutely need to happen, like elevators and the transit system and the hangars, those refactors, the mission systems, update to the mission systems, all that sort of stuff doesn't need to wait, because if you're releasing it monthly, it can just wait a month, just punt it, don't delay the patch. And I think that, for me, is kind of the acid test. If we get a patch a month, that's CIG holding to it. If the game becomes more stable, that's CIG holding to it. If we're all enjoying playing it more, that's that. Because I genuinely think there's a couple of things that they can do that aren't necessarily new features that will stabilize the game and make it a lot more enjoyable. And I think consistently being rewarded for what you do, the game behaving as intended, i.e. when I press refuel, it refuels. When I press, down or up on an elevator, my ship doesn't despawn and take everything with it. That sort of stuff. So yeah, there's certain things that we need them to do. We'll see. Badgers, why do you think the big content climax for the A story will be, and why is it Nyx? if you had a leading questions at Terex, because that's exactly what that is. I don't think it's Nick's, buddy, and I don't think you're suggesting that it's going to be Nick's either. Don't know. Don't know. All that we've said is that the pyro system is going to change this year. I still think it's going to be a lawless system, though how that looks at the end of it all, like, I have no idea how that's gonna play out. We'll see. I'm gonna stick this over here for a second. So yeah, we'll see how that all plays out. But I genuinely don't know, and kind of I don't want to know. You guys, if you know me at all, will know that I don't go into 4.1. The PTU stuff. Generally speaking, I don't go into any of that. I wait till it hits live. Because I just think there's this, and I get it. People want to consume content, people want to see the new stuff, and I am 100% on board with all of that. But for me personally, as a personal choice, I don't like spoiling it all, and I feel like a lot of it gets spoiled, right? So much of it is... Stop it. So much of it is spoiled. You know, people were burnt out on Pyro before Pyro came. People will be burnt out on the mining stations of the Valakar before that comes. People were burnt out on the contested zones before the contested zones arrives. And there is an element there of our own responsibility in going, well, if I don't want to get spoiled on it, maybe I shouldn't watch it. And that's it for me personally. So I just, you know, we went and did the contested zones. I hadn't even looked at a map on the website to figure out what was going on. So that was that. But yeah. So yeah. I wonder if we'll get a new ship a month, so socially. Hopefully not. Hopefully it stays with its current release cadence. Richard Scarlett says, I have a very negative view about paying real world money for a digital asset like that, especially that much money. What are we talking about there in terms of the ships themselves, or sorry, I'm not sure. Oh, the Endeavour. Yeah, no. Fair enough. John Chavez, you rate the P8AR. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm cautious about semi-auto weapons and a less than stable game. Yeah, that's what I found in midships. I like the look of the P8AR, but I just found that its damage output wasn't quick enough. And all it takes is one or two whiffed shots, and you were at a serious disadvantage. It's not a patch a month, it's 10 patches over 2025. I mean, we literally watched him say it there, right? Monthly patch cadence. So I know he did say, he then says 10 patches over 2025. But even so, we've had what, arguably one or two. We have 41 weeks left this year. It's going to end up being a patch a month now anyway. Pretty much. So, you know, because what, 8 patches left, 5 weeks in a month, 40. It's going to be a patch a month now anyway. So that they've painted themselves into this corner. They said it. You know, no one forced them to say it. They've got to stick to it now. So yeah. Grabbing the cart and the mining store and putting them in front of the elevator so people can't get out of the elevator. Yeah, that happens a lot too. Semi-autos is just my playstyle in general, says Chavez. Even if other games balance the meta. Yeah, and I can stick with that. Hey, Maximus. I just wish CRG would bring back simple box missions. I miss the simplicity and jank of those. And you are not wrong, sir. Yeah, I mean, I guess that they've kind of gone, but maybe that'll be something that will come back in the future. Bearing in mind that we were told that when they went to 4.0 that not all of the missions have made it across. I'm sure you've kind of seen that we don't have everything that we had before. And hopefully with 4.1 and that, we'll see these as one of the stealth patch features. They'll just bring those back in, and it will start to come back. Because there's lots of ships. I think there's lots of, you know, things where you could arguably go and do that as well. You know, there's a reason on the Mule, for example, they have those shells dedicated for those boxes, and that's because they're gonna be of use, right? So yeah. You can't get new people in with instability. No, to an extent. I mean, and I think when you say new people, for me, that's the people from Squadron 42. People are going to go play what is hopefully, you would hope with 3 years to do it, but hopefully a very polished AAA experience. They're going to need to make Star Citizen less of a fustercluck than it is now, because, yeah, it is a fustercluck. Most people used to games that hold their hand and tell them where to go and what to do. Yeah, absolutely. And this is certainly not always going to be one of those games. So yeah, adds the star kit and paint and calls it a patch. Get out, Matthew. Essential Azza, yeah, good. Welcome to see you. Good to have you in. I was just thinking about box missions. I want missions that you go places and walk around without having to shoot people. Do you know what? Funny you should say that. I think one of the things that I really liked from the Genesis presentation was the Starchitect stuff, the idea of placing different locations in a smaller area that are all themed towards the same thing. So they're all mining-esque, or they're all, science or like failed outpost-esque or whatever. Because that kind of exploration and I know it's massively overused, but emergent gameplay. You discover something and then it leads you to something else, and then it leads you to something else. And there's no real mission. You're just doing things for its own sake. That, for me, is one of the biggest appeals of Star Citizen. So yeah, I want box missions so I can track my ships as socially. Yeah, absolutely. You can log off and come back and still be there in 4.1. Well, that's good. That's good to hear, at least at this now. Wait, so you still don't have the Star Kit and suit badges? That must be fixed. Shut up, Edison. Get out. So yeah, there's a certain person in Discord who seems to want to buy me all the embarrassing gear. So he's tried to send me a Star Kit and set, but I haven't accepted that because he can. You know who you are, Jamlak. He sent me the Star Chaser stuff, which is that god awful white and like neon purple suit and weapons. And I wore that once, and I've never put it on again because I think I basically lit up the entire star system when I put it on and stepped outside. So that's disgusting. So yeah, I won the Star Kitten back as a giveaway. Did you give it back? Just like, no, it's alright, you can keep it. But yeah. So some confusion on org staff uniform. Chidomo sharp. I did end up saying to Chidomo and Jamlak, who were, they tell me that they got dressed in it in one of the in Obituary Station, and they were drawing a crowd of players who were either shocked, confused, disgusted, aghast, repelled, all of the above, for the Star Kit and stuff. So that's quite funny. Yeah. So yeah, the problem is that it's more taxing on server end. With the derelict outposts or player homes. Yeah, and this is the whole point of server meshing, right? Is that they can just apply more servers to the problem. And once they've got the meshing communicating properly and not deteriorating as it currently is, that will help things out. Dal, don't make me ban you. Oh God, stop sending me things, you rotters. Yeah, so that's that. So where are we? 2216. I'm kind of in two minds as to whether or not I do this next bit. And unfortunately, because of the nature of it, it is not something that I really want to put to a vote. For those that don't know, Salty Mike put a video out this weekend, entitled "Should I Quit?" And I watched it. I don't watch a lot of Salty Mike stuff because his style of content is not normally the style that I enjoy watching. However, I'm a little bit worried about him. I don't want this to devolve into attacks or personal attacks on, and I never want that, but certainly not this time, because what I saw, I think, was was hinting at bigger problems, and I'm kind of hoping that he gets. He said that after the experience that he had, a couple of the other streamers reached out to him. They played kind of privately and not in front of an audience or with community, and he actually quite enjoyed that. So I'm hoping that's okay. I was thinking about whether or not we react to it on stream, but I think it might be better that if I decide to react to it at all, that I do it in video format, and something that he can see, and I probably would want to script it so that I don't misstep, because you know me, I'm no fan of the salt farming that goes on around Star Citizen, and as Mike himself in the video said, so this is not me being nasty to him, I'm merely repeating what he said. He does have quite an abrasive personality, and he knows that, or an abrasive style rather. He knows that, and what I don't want to do is I don't want to give the appearance or actually dogpile him, because that's not what I want to do. And whilst I might not agree with his content and I might not agree with a couple of his viewpoints, that doesn't mean I hope that he's having a bad time of it. So, I think what I'll do on reflection, I've been kind of thinking about it in the background during the stream, is I won't go into his video, and that what I'll do is, I hope that he feels better. I hope that he gets over what he's experiencing at the minute, in a relatively painless, relatively efficient and effective manner for him, in a way that he doesn't have to revisit it. Yeah, it's rough to see people like that. There's a couple of things that he said that's worrying. There's also a couple of things in the video that I could take issue with, but I'm not going to, because it's more about making sure that he's okay. And I hope that in this moment that people can recognise, however, whatever their personal feelings are, towards him or towards people that don't like him, other people towards people that don't like him, that we can recognise that someone in the community is having a rough time of it, and that's time for us all to be a little bit human and just try and look after one of our own, right? So yeah, we'll see. Yeah. You reap what you sow is still relevant all these years later. Yeah, absolutely. Breaks from SC are a must for one sanity. Branch out into other games. Absolutely. I think streaming can do that to you. I stopped streaming because I was losing enjoyment for the game. And do you know what? This is the one thing. I know people say variety streaming is much harder to do, because people will enjoy you for one game and then absolutely not like it for another. Get that 100%. And you guys know I've said, if you're new here, then I'll say that anyway. Hello, Rash. Good to see you. You'll know that I've said, if I stop enjoying this, I'm going to stop doing it. Because gaming is my relaxing. And this is how I chill out, and this is how I engage with friends around the world now. And, I wouldn't take any of this back for the incredible people that I've met through this, specifically. But also outside of this. I mean, DGP, the people I've met through DGP, I met through gaming. So this is a group of friends I have here in the UK. We used to go to LAN parties together. We used to attend. That was the whole reason DGP came about. Because you had to give a clan name or a whatever to sit together. So we just came up with Drinkers with Gaming Problems. That's where this whole thing came from. So yeah. Everyone gets mad at Star Citizen, says Makimus. Casting, then shutting down the PC. Taking the dogs for a walk. It's good to take a break now and again until the dogs tell you to go back. Yeah. Until you get tired of scraping up the poop. John Chavez says, my first emotional response to seeing that thumbnail was, I hope you do. Just like the idea of being associated with that level of negativity if he's seen as one of the faces of SC. Yeah, and I get that. Luna, we're talking about Saucy Mike released a video over the weekend, and it's I'm worried, because what I saw was, I know people will see the salt farming and everything else. What I saw was someone's having a rough time. So I'm just concerned for him. And I was thinking about, I'm sat here, I've got on this monitor, I've got everything that is going on with the stream, and on this monitor I've got whatever I have when I talk to you. And I'll just do it now. I'll just transition over just to show you. I'm sat here with this video paused, ready to go. and I don't think I'm going to do it. Just because you know, I want to. If I'm going to respond to him, I'll respond to him in video format. He probably won't even watch it. Probably won't even know that I've done it. But I think it's useful. So yeah. You might need to explain what a LAN party is to the new kids. They might not know what it is. Yeah, it's when everyone took their computers and were in the same building and all connected through a switch and played games. And this is back in the days of like CS:GO 1.6 and CS 1.6, not even CS:GO, CS 1.6. Before CS:GO was a thing, there was this thing called Counter-Strike. Before Steam, that we used to download over dial-up, and that was about as much fun as it sounds. Rash says, Star Citizen at the moment is dog poop, at least for me, and I take it in small chunks. So to see someone who's making a living out of it, expected to hit the wall far, far, far harder. Yeah, and that's it, right? And I think, there's times when I don't enjoy this, and I've streamed 2, 3, 4 weeks continuously without ever playing it, and I just come and talk to you guys about what's going on, and I think that's important, right? And I feel for Mike, because this is not, like when during the week, I go and do my job and I completely disengage from Star Citizen and I come back, except for when I notice that if I'm teaching a group, if there are 1 or 2 absolute nerds in there, I will basically force Star Citizen through their eyeballs during breaks and stuff. I'll be like, yeah, come with me. I got something to show you. So yeah, but we'll see. When I was preteen, I constantly went to LAN party. It was called Pencil and Paper D&D. Funny enough, I'm about to give that a go. Not this weekend, not next weekend coming, but the weekend after. I'm going to some friends. We're going to try our first D&D session. I'm dungeon mastering because I think I'm funny when I'm drunk. But yeah, Firebrand, Action House Life, CS 1.4, says Devaluna. You are not wrong. Quake, Team Fortress, absolutely, all the good stuff. Yeah, we played Delta Force on LAN, like the original Delta Force, which was kind of cool. It's big CRT monitors that could survive a fall from a 1-story building, break the ground it lands on. Absolutely. Going over to a friend's house to play games because we didn't have any at the time. Absolutely. We need a stream of your D&D. No, Rash, because the people I'm playing D&D with, they're not part of this. They're not part of this madness. And they don't need to be. I think it's a good idea to keep them short. My favourite ever, LAN party was one that I had at my house. So we were 17, 18, I think, because I was still roughly at school. I think it was the last year of me being at school in college. And my parents went on holiday, and my sister went to do a week away with school activities. So I was left in my house for a week. So we went to PC World with £100 and bought all the cables, everything we needed, and a switch. We spent the week, basically, my parents had cleaned out the fridge, so we had a fridge full of beer, did all that sort of stuff, and then I went back to PC World at the end of the week, talked about all the problems we'd had setting it up, and they were like, oh yeah, no, that happens all the time, and we got the £100 back. Which was quite fun. But yeah, so there's that. That was good. Oh my god, I forgot about the big CRT. It took up a whole desk on its own. Yeah, that's it. SA, hey buddy, good to see you, man. Welcome in. Mate, I'm good, thank you. Hope you're doing well as well, my friend. We'll have to catch up. You know where the Discord is, man. It will be good to see you. When you were crapping yourself that your 19-inch CRT would be ripped off the wall mount, I never put it on a wall mount. That's braver people than me put CRTs on wall mounts. Screw that. Yeah, we promise not to make the D&D party into murder hobos in the first. No, I'm not having any of you in that D&D. Absolutely not. I know better. So yeah, so that was going to be what I was going to do for a little while. So I guess what I'll do is I'll just skip on to the next thing. If I can remember what it was. If not, we can just sit and chat, and maybe I'll boot up the game for a little bit, and we'll have a look at that as well. So, the good old days of Age of Empires LAN parties. Absolutely, Rash. That's exactly what it was. And whining at friends, yeah, because they fell asleep in front of the PC. That was it. And we had, it was back in the days of, was it Blue Yonder? and we had, I can't remember what the TV provider was, but you could have a little box that you bought and you put your own like cable TV into it, and it told the box at the end of the road that you paid for everything, all the pay-per-view, all the movies, all the everything, right? It gave you all the channels, and we had that. So yeah, we would just like sleep in the front room during the day, during the night, early hours of the morning, watching stupid movies and all that sort of stuff. It was kind of good fun. Yeah, no worries, Lena. I don't normally, but that I thought would have been worth kind of looking at and seeing what he was saying. So yeah, 27-year. Fucking, what is this? I played Rift's RPG. I've not tried it. Again, I've not done much in the way of what do you call it, of D&D stuff at all. Got my eyes. But yeah. So yeah. You need to put a post on the bottom of your bottle of glass so you can be reminded what the next segment is. Absolutely. The good old days. Yeah, I'm old. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm feeling. So, WoW Guild LAN parties. It was intimidating with one of three guys in a 50 group. Yeah. Yeah, LAN parties were great fun, man. And like I say, that's kind of partially why the name, right? Okie dokie. So, let's just have a quick look. Community. So normally I give people on my Discord absolute stick for going into Spectrum because, as everyone in my Discord knows, Spectrum gives you the dumb. It really does. This is a wretched hive of scum and villainy, but it is what it is. So I guess we should get into this bit. I'm just waiting for it to load. Okay, so, and I apologise because this has probably been covered by lots and lots of people, but hey, I'm going to cover it now too. So let's cut across. Welcome in, Firebrand, Sebastian. Good to see you all. We'll have a look, if you like, at the capital ships, the Squadron 42 demo. We'll have a look at it in a second. I'm on Spectrum way too much as essential. Yeah, Spectrum is really weird because it's this microcosm of the game that doesn't actually exist, right? You get very vocal, very loud people on Spectrum talking about stuff that most of us don't really experience, right? So if you go on there, for example, you will see these bugs that are apparently really common, despite the fact most of the people that you talk to don't experience them. And similarly, there are lots of bugs out there that are more common that people don't even know exist because no one's in Spectrum complaining about them. They're on the issue council and where they need to be, so that's kind of weird. But first look at item recovery, the tier 0 rollout, okay? And this is obviously set the community ablaze just a little bit. And yeah, Essay's got it right. Spectrum is toxic, unfortunately. 100%. So, with the initial rollout of recovery, you will respawn with the exact gear you had equipped. Okay? So, it's whatever you had equipped, not just what's in your inventory. Alright? So, equipped weapons, armor, magazines, and med pens ensure that your core loadout is retained. However, items stored in your inventory, such as your backpack, your core armor, your leg armor, will remain on your corpse, making it available for looting. Okay. So, whilst equipped, items will also remain on your corpse. They will not be interactable, preventing item duplication while still preserving the visual state of your character at the time of death. This approach helps mitigate item duplication issues in the initial implementation while laying the groundwork for future expansions of the systems. Okay, so basically when you die, if it's in your backpack, if it's in your core armor, or if it's in your leg armor, it will be able to be taken off you. If it's actually equipped into a slot, i.e. the magazine slots on your chest, your leg med pen slots, the pistol holster, the utility item, the whatever, or your backpack slots, as in the weapons, then they can't take it from you. Okay, so it's a bit of an interesting one. Okay, so items stored in your inventory, items in your backpack, will not be protected and remain on your corpse upon death. Sorry. Items such as magazines and med pens that you have can still be looted. However, you will also respawn with them. Okay. Because they're not worried about those being duplicated just yet. Item recovery applies to all forms of respawning, whether in a medbed on a ship or at your assigned landing zone. To ensure that your weapon in active use is secured as an equipped item, it will automatically be stowed to your holster upon death. And if you die within a landing zone, you will respawn with both your equipped gear and your inventory. So that hasn't changed. Okay. In Tier 0, you will respawn with your previously equipped gear already attached to you. So when you wake up in the bed in hospital, you'll have your gear attached to you. Okay? While exploring, you loot a rifle, store it in your backpack. If you die, that rifle will remain on your corpse, available to others to loot. However, if you'd equipped it at the time of death, it will respawn with you. So now it's going to be there's going to be a tiny bit more inventory juggling in that the weapons you have equipped are going to be the ones you don't want to lose, not necessarily just the ones you want to use at that point. Okay. So yeah, and then Tier 1 they're already talking about will introduce the ability to register your gear and ships at kiosks or ASOC terminals. And so on and so forth. So what this looks like is they're trying to stop us from basically being able to, and this is a problem, right? Being able to go and get your subscriber gear, equipping it, have something else kill you, looting it, and then getting it back. Okay, so you can basically, for example, it would be time consuming, but for an entire org, you could literally just do one person buys it, equips the entire org with it because you killed, everyone loots you, and you equip an entire org with that kit, which is a problem. However, it is a problem of their own making because they implemented all this stuff before they knew how they were going to recover it. And I'm a little bit like, well, you got yourselves into this mess, you can get yourselves out of it, right? You started selling us gear before you knew how it was going to come back. Maybe you shouldn't have done that. Just saying. But yeah, there's that. Dial it back to fun, needs something to some Cough Avenger 1. Yeah. The grenade launcher, railgun, and rocket launcher will lose ammo on dead. Whatever. So what we're talking about here is players can register their equipped items, which can be reclaimed for a fee. Ships, along with their loadouts, can also be registered. They can then be reclaimed in the state they were previously registered for a price. Bricked items. Once an item is looted, it remains usable until the original owner reclaims it or marks it as stolen. At that point, a dead man's switch is activated, meaning it will cease to function after a period of time. While a looted or stolen bricked item is no longer usable, you can still sell it. Pledge items are auto-registered and will never lose their registration status. They can always be claimed back, even if they were not manually registered. Okay, so that's how they're getting around that. With Tier 1, you will no longer respawn with your preserved gear already equipped. You will need to visit a location such as your freight elevator to reclaim your registered items. We're developing a quality of life feature to allow you to re-equip your previous full loadout with one auto-equip. Thank God, loadouts will be useful. And hopefully that counts for everything as long as the gear's in your inventory, not just to stuff you died. But oh my God, loadouts. Yes, please. The amount of time I spend equipping myself the same loadout over and over again is just painful. But yeah. But would people have subbed without the perk of getting sub flare? I mean, yes and no, I guess. I guess the sub flare could be stuff that you couldn't lose. There's plenty of sub flare, like hanger items and all that sort of stuff. You know. With this tier 0, we will have thousands of star kittens in the verse. That's disgusting. Let's not. Suit lockers. Guess this come a bit sooner than they planned. Yeah, 100%. So yeah. With the implementation of tier 1, our current plans to move the ability to backspace out of dangerous scenarios as a way to retain gear. What about backspacing because you're stuck? What about backspacing because you're in the middle of space on a ship with no fuel? Interesting. Not entirely sure I like that. So tier 2 introduces a way to restore bricked items. Option to sell it, dismantle it for crafting materials, interesting, or restore it with a potential cost of crafting materials or credits to make it your own. This system creates a viable path for piracy, but we have to get to tier 2 to have that path, allowing you to claim another player's belongings if you take the necessary steps to legitimize ownership. If an item had a cosmetic applied, restoring it will remove the cosmetic in the process. Interesting. So that's the... Okay. The introduction of item recovery is a significant step forward toward making gear persistence more meaningful while maintaining the risk-reward balance of looting. It's a tough read. You know, I get the backspace thing, and I think you can. I guess you could deal with that with flagging people for combat. So in the same way that, you know, DayZ used to do this. The Arma 2 DayZ mod used to be that you would be flagged for combat if you had rounds coming near you. They didn't even have to hit you, right? They could just keep you in combat. So if they knew you were like hiding behind a rock or hiding in a building, they'd just periodically pepper the building with rounds to keep you in combat. And then they come and get you, and you know, to basically log out of that at that stage would be a combat log, and you'd be punished in various different ways depending on the server or the mod pack or the whatever. So I think there's a way to, yeah, because there's going to be nothing worse, right, than working really hard to come and hunt and attack a group of players, right, and when you get the drop on them, they all just backspace, and now you can't nick any of their stuff. Cypress Star, good evening, good to see you. I wish item recovery was more like ordering from Amazon and having, having it be a parcel mission to a locker. Yeah, possibly. I don't know. So my big issue with this, I don't really hear people talking about this, although that doesn't mean much. They might well be talking about it and I've just missed it. My issue with this is what I don't understand is why couldn't this just be for subscriber items? Right? If you bought gear, subscriber or bought gear, if you've bought it, do it like this. Why is this happening for everything else? Just trying to formulate my thoughts around it. So, looting bricked items. So once an item is looted, you'll have the option to sell it, dismantle it for crafting materials, or restore it. With the potential cost of crafting materials and or credits to make it your own, this system creates a viable path for piracy. Pay to unlock your loot. Is that what we're saying? You loot something. And then you pay to use it. Like, this is adding steps to looting. I loot something, I take it, I use it. Well, I mean, Azza, I see what you mean about the potential pay-to-win accusations. But if there's a timer to claim it, or if there's a step, like you've got to go and collect it, say from a major landing zone, like I think that kills that dead, because the guns aren't any different. You're still buying the same gun as everyone else. It's just got a skin on it or whatever. The point is you paid for it, so you should never lose it. You know, and I'm thinking specifically here. I'm coming away from ships and stuff because, like, I understand on a bunch of different levels the ships might be a lot more difficult to get your head round. But your pistol. So I shoot you and kill you, or you shoot and kill me. Let's go around that way because that's much more likely, right? You shoot me and kill me, and I've got a pistol on me, and I happen to have saved that loadout. So you loot my pistol and you start shooting people. And all of a sudden it starts beeping because I've claimed it and you've got 3 minutes before it deadman switches and you can't use it anymore. You've now got to go somewhere to do something to be able to use that pistol. Why would you loot players? Why would you loot players? I mean, this is just... So, I like this in gameplay, right? The extra steps in gameplay. So mining is much more interesting because you're not doing what you do in, say, I don't know, World of Warcraft, right? You're not running up to something, right-clicking it, shift right-clicking it, getting everything into your inventory, running up to the next thing, shift right-click, run up to the next thing, shift right-click. You're not doing that. It's actually a gameplay loop in and of itself. That's fine. But does looting need to become an entire gameplay loop? Why can't you just loot something and use it? Yeah. I mean, I see what you're saying. So Chidomo says, every time you die, you generate 3 entities. Noob suit, helmet, and hospital gown. But your original body still has lots of entities on it. This system reduces... Only momentarily. Because what it says up here, with tier 1... if I can just write... where is it? Here you go. In tier 1, you will no longer respawn with your preserved gear already equipped. So tier 1, you're going back to gown, helmet, noob suit. So, how does that change anything? They're bringing it straight back in. Well, I say straight back in whenever tier 1 gets implemented. CIG overcomplicating as always. Again, they talked about item ID and being registered to ownership. Yeah, I just feel like it's kind of... Yeah, I can see why people aren't liking this. What do you mean no tier 1 you need to get your beer back? Okay, so... Yeah, so what do you spawn in? The gown, right? And you're going to have to get a noob suit. Because what if you have no money when you die? You're straight back to noob suits. If you've got no money when you die, noob suits. Or, congratulations, you've now failed Star Citizen. Do you see what I mean? If you've got no money, what are you doing? How are you going anywhere in a medical gown? See what I mean? So yeah, Death of a Spaceman. Yeah, literally. Congratulations. Buy a new account to continue playing. That you have to go back to medical gown, or I mean, all right, maybe you can run around the hospital naked, all right, or in your underpants. That's fine. But yeah, and I hear that, Edison. But what happens if it's cold? What happens if it's hot? What happens if the city you spawn in is Levski? Like, it doesn't make... Yeah, so that's not what it's going to be. Stunner says, in my problem, the problem, as always, with CIG is communication. They're telling what they're going to be done, but not why. I'm sure there are aspects of testing them. It's game systems. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a breeze comes in and kills you because you freeze your balls off. Yeah, absolutely that. And that's it. And this is the... Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a Hurston thing, right? Is you better steal it. Well, yeah, because then Hurston get to go, haha, 2 more years, hard labour, woo! And, you know, I guess that's how they keep their workforce, right? But yeah, so I don't know. I'm... It just feels like... So gear management. So this is the bit I'm reading. Okay, the initial Tier 0 rollout will be fairly basic compared to the full system, but it marks a crucial first step. As we shared at CitizenCon, the complete item recovery system will be far more robust and nuanced, making gear management a core gameplay element. Yes, and I don't have a problem with us having to manage our gear. The bit that I have a problem with is this makes looting a multi-step pain in the ass process. Looting is the prize for what you're doing. Right? And if it's not the prize, it's a bonus side effect. It's a benefit. It's a perk. It's a, you know, well, I don't have to kill these dudes, but I will, because maybe they've got some good loot on them. That guy looks like he's got a rifle that I want. Bang. Do you know what I mean? I think, you know, there's lots of core things that we do in games that we just do it because no one's challenged it and no one's thought about it. I don't think this is one of those things. I genuinely think that this is to play with something as fundamental as players getting the reward or a reward, even if it's not the main reward, for what they're doing. I think that's problematic. I'm not... Yeah. I mean, like everything, we'll see what it's like when it comes out, right? But I don't think this is a good idea. You know, and I get it. This is very much a... This is very much an engineer's approach to the process. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to control what can and can't be looted on a body. That's Tier 0. And then what we're going to do is we're going to implement the reclaim system. That's Tier 1. And then Tier 2, we're going to add the functionality for bricked items that came with Tier 1. I get all that stuff. That's an engineer's way of approaching it. But I do think it's a little bit... I don't know. I mean, there's a reason we don't take out the items that we really want to keep, right? For this reason. I don't know. Badges, maybe if you have citizenship, you get free basic gear respawn. Maybe a credit chip for gear. Yeah, potentially. I mean, I think this is, when we talk about insurance and stuff, I think the insurance system is going to get more in depth. So I think insurance won't just be respawn your ship. I think you'll have kind of clone insurance as well, which will be maybe an enhanced search and rescue, maybe an encrypted search and rescue beacon, so it goes out to your org and not to everyone, but it can be hacked through data running. So, you know, the beacon doesn't just go out to anyone who wants to screw you over. The beacon goes out to people who are considered friendly or neutral. like, there's loads of things that they can do with that. Faster response times, faster spawn times, respawn with better kit, respawn with the exact kit you had on you, blah, 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 blah. So I think that's going to happen. Yeah. I wonder if the idea is this approach, the data to better inform how to implement recovery. Yeah, and that's it. And I think, to be honest, I think with item recovery, I don't think it's an issue. Right? We all get into the habit of, we go to a station, we buy, initially, okay, you buy one of everything when you've got 20,000 credits, when there's been a wipe. But like now that I've had a chance to do a few jobs, even when you're sat on 250,000 credits, buy 3 undersuits, 3 chest, arm, leg, head armors, buy a couple of backpacks, buy a couple of weapons, buy more ammo than you need for one run. Right? You can just buy it in bulk after a while. So I don't think the reclaim thing was ever an issue. The reclaim was only ever an issue for subscriber items. How do I get back the stuff I paid real world money for? And the duping thing is kind of easy, isn't it? Because all the subscriber items, there aren't unique subscriber items. Like, if you get a subscriber Kana, it's Kana with a skin. If you get a subscriber FS9, it's an FS9 with a skin. You make the skin only visible to the person that has it. Everyone else can see it when it's on that player, but the minute someone else picks it up, it becomes a standard Kana. It becomes a standard FS9. If you're really that worried about duping, that's how you approach it. And I'm not saying that people won't be happy with that, or sorry, won't be unhappy with that. Yeah. Well, I mean, look, the first, yeah, Richard Scarlett. My intention there was not to say to pay real world money. My issue is for the people that have bought real world money for insurance. Yeah, no, absolutely. Hey, Sandgroper, good to see you, my friend. Good to see you in. What about one-off gear and items like event rewards? Yeah, I mean, that stuff it's like any other gear you pick up. Or maybe you can go and insure it and then get it back. Right? But yeah, has Badger shown us his worm yet? Sorry, not, Groper. Unfortunately. No, they paid me enough money to keep my clothes on this time round. But next stream, who knows what will happen. Make sub-gear a skin where you can apply to guns and suits. If someone looks at it, they get the generic armor it was applied to. The sub-items could still be found in boxes around the verse to collect. Yeah, exactly that, right? But if you lose it, just like you lose anything else you find in the verse, you've lost it. The issue that I have with this, more than anything else, is that we know that if you start soft with Star Citizen players and then make anything remotely harder, everybody whinges, right? You've only got to look at the reaction of the attempt to increase the price of missiles and torpedoes, right? Oh my god, the crying. Because now people can't just spam missiles in every PvP scenario and win. Well, they can, but it's going to cost them more than it's going to make them. The level of just tears that came out about that is ridiculous. And this is going to be the same thing as well, I think. Edison, thank you, bud. I will. Do you know what? For that $6, mate, or €6, I'm gonna do that button up, so now no one has to look at my moves. There you go. How's that? It's only for a couple of minutes anyway, right? So there you go. I'll do a button up. Thank you, bud. Do you want to see your star kitten tattoo? It's not a kitten, mate. So yeah, thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Again, they want the data on what all the added complexity Starware will add, but if no one's wearing it, how will they get the data? I guess data on what is my question, right? Is that people have been dying, losing gear, going back to the body, picking their stuff up for time in memoriam. The only problem this is trying to solve is people getting back the gear that they have paid real world money for. Oh, good God. Chat's degenerating again. Do you see what I mean? So that, for me, is the issue that I take with this is that all they're trying to do is solve how do we get players back their items that they've paid real world money for. Everything else in game is easy come, easy go, right? So there's nothing else they need to be worried about reclaiming. Ships might be a different thing, but you know, we're talking about here, you know, people equipped gear and stuff. So this is primarily us with our gear. I just, yeah, I'm gonna have to think about that. I know I'm a bit slow to the party on this one. I know other people have been talking about it for a while. And normally what I do in situations like that is I let things kind of calm down a bit, and then go from there. But but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. I'm just not. I'm not loving this notion. We absolutely need the ability to get our own equipment back. What we don't need is more steps to looting, more obstacles to being able to have the spoils of what you... I get it with ship ownership and stuff, because they want ships to be like player lives. They want them to be important and crucial and, you know, not just these throwaway toys. They want you to love your ship and really take care of it. And I get that. So I'm all behind the idea of warranties and you know, hull ownership and, you know, there being steps to, you know, taking over someone's ship, or claiming it as your own. I get that. But for gear, for a pistol, for a medical, like, I think what people don't really, what they've not really considered is, you know, in a lot of these situations, the amount of times you have items lost or whatever, being able to go, can you imagine you're bleeding out with 20% life left, right? And you kill a bunch of players and the only med ammo they've got is the one on their belt. And you can't have it because of this system. You can see it, it's right there. You can stare at this ammo that you need to heal yourself and stop yourself from dying. But you can't have it because this. It's not filling me full of joy. And like I said before, you know, I try to be positive about the game. I'm still positive about its direction. I'm still enjoying playing it, but that strikes me as a really, really bad idea. But hey. We shall see. Possibly not with the downed. Maybe, let's have a look. Yeah, possibly. That's a good point, Stack. That it might be a case of before you kill them, you nick their stuff. But then again, they just backspace, right? You know. But yeah. Tier 0, just to sweeten it a by time we can still fall through the ground. Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully, I mean, this doesn't come in until they've solved a lot of those problems. But yeah, we shall see. Well, the first thing I'm going to say is a huge thank you to the super chats, to Richard Scarlett, to Edison. Thank you both very much. Appreciate it. 9 o'clock every Sunday. Obviously, I'll be here. 9 o'clock on Fridays, if you want to join the Discord, is our Friday night ops, where we play games of either this or something else. And even if you don't want to play, you're more than welcome to come in and chat and hang out at any time. Of course, it has always been a pleasure talking with you all. You've been watching Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.